Okay, hello, testing 1 2 1 2. Let me know if you can hear me so we can start these new live solutions. Let me know if you heard the bass correctly and without so much delay. And that's a usual problem. I think I got it kind of like figured out after a while of doing this. So this one is in English, as you can see. I'm going to do my best as usual. And if you're new to this platform, to this type of videos I'm doing, this is just an instance for you to give me your questions about the instrument, of course, bass, guitar, why not, and even some theories, some knowledge of whatever type of issue really related to music in general, okay? Opinions and whatever. So I'll remind you some things before we start. As I said, get your questions ready. Maybe pick up your instrument and play along with me. I don't know. And maybe use this as a practice session while I talk. I don't know. I've been doing these ones. I think I have a lot of them from now. I don't know how much it has actually been. Probably more than a year. I guess it's been improving a little bit more fluidity, especially in my English speaking. But I still have some problems, I think. I can understand, of course, so don't worry. And yeah, I'm not from America. I'm from a place called Chile, or Chile, if you want to, as you say, Chile. I don't know. So that's it. I'll remind you, you can follow me on Facebook, so you're in touch of what I'm doing. You can follow on Twitter if you want. I don't use it that much. Of course, the most important thing is considering becoming a patron, so we can continue really doing this. It's just because of them, because of patrons, that I can actually do this every day and work really on the channel. That I think it has, gradually become a real helpful tool for bass players. I hope so. I really hope so. Okay. So I'm trying to improve my own knowledge. I'm trying to improve my own knowledge on everything that I can upgrade, so it benefits you eventually. Okay. You can also, on these streams, actually these streams are the only thing that I can monetize actually from all my videos, because of copyright and the actual unfair use of fair use. Really, it's a little bit of an issue there, because educational purpose is actually an excuse to use music and maybe use it more freely, but it's not the case for YouTube. So I don't get money for all of this, unless it is from Patreon and unless it is from these streams. So I will encourage you, if you want to watch more of these streams, or even you can support me on the link below. I have donations, and you can give me a question that I can for sure try to answer more in detail if you want to donate. Of course, I think a super chat is activated too. So sorry if I have to always talk about this, but it's kind of like the only way that I can continue, as I said, doing this work. So if you appreciate it, please consider it, and if you can't, don't worry, really. So let's start. Why not? Streams in Spanish will be done, I hope, tomorrow. So that will be the thing. Let me allow to speak a little bit in Spanish. Streams en español los voy a tratar de hacer todos los días sábados, a esta misma hora, más o menos, ¿ok? Así que mañana pueden estar ahí en las redes atentos a ver si yo hago uno mañana. Debería poder. Okay, that's it. So, we covered some songs that I'm going to try to talk about in these hours. I covered this week some Rage Against the Machine and some Wolfpack. Both were a little bit difficult to get. I think I practiced them a little bit more. And now this week I've been a little bit left out from the instrument, actually, because I was feeling a little bit tense, with my hands. And remember, if you always feel a little bit of something, it's better for you to rest, okay, a little bit. You don't want to get hurt, and try to figure out maybe why, or maybe it's just some stressed, hands. But always try to correct your positions and try to give health to what you do, okay? So I'm going to try to talk about that if you ask, of course. But I will always remind you of that. It's important to correct your position so you don't get hurt and you can play more, okay? Okay. So it's funny because I think at the first minutes there's a wave of questions from people that of course I can't read all of them. So please repeat yourself if you already said something and I don't watch it, okay? I can't watch all of the live chat things and go through all of them all the time. Okay, Mr. David CM asks, please talk about harmony on bass guitar and what is harmony in general. Okay, I think it's a little bit of a general question, okay, but if you have a general question, I think I will try to answer it in a general way, okay. I'm not going into details if you give me that question. But what is harmony in general? That is interesting because harmony is just, how can I put it? I think after a while you'll understand that harmony is just different melodies and how they interact together, okay? You should always try to think about harmony in that way. It's just voices trying to fit together in harmony, and that is the word. But after all, it's not blocks of things, it's more direction of horizontal voices, okay? So that gives you more things to work on if you understand that, okay? If you understand that you're just guiding different voices, will give you more of the understanding of the classical harmony, maybe, okay? Of course, that kind of like evolved, and now we say C, G, B minor, or whatever, and we understand that as blocks of the scale, okay? And that is a good evolution in some music. It helps a lot, okay? Especially if you want to improvise and you need some formulas. after a while. You can't just compose at the minute, you know. So it's kind of like an evolution of that, of polyphony and voices acting together, and finally harmony. Okay, so it's important to understand that if you want to understand modern use of harmony. Okay, I'm not going to go through the theory details. Okay, but it's important to understand the concepts of key, of course, the concept of chords, and how they interact together. Okay. Mr. Morky Blorky says, "Can you please show a muted note?" Okay, here it is. Next question. No, I'm just kidding. I hope you want for me to to give you an explanation of what is a muted note. Yeah. So muted note, or it's usually confounded with ghost notes. I want to make the clarification so we can understand ourselves better. Okay, I refer to ghost notes when I'm doing this, when I'm placing my hand on the strings and I'm trying to create a percussive sound, not an actual pitch out of the notes. Okay, so that percussive action, that percussive note, it's well used in an instrument that involves a lot of rhythm. So we're always trying to get that into locking up with the rhythm section, and also giving something interesting to add into rhythm. Okay, so we're doing it instead of this. We're doing or whatever, yeah. So that is one important thing, but I call that ghost notes. Okay, when I'm talking about muted notes, it's usually involved with a kind of a faint pitch that you can actually hear, more like doing this. Yeah, that is for me a muted note. Okay, and there's many ways after. You know, by the way, if we're talking about this, maybe I can talk a little bit about muted notes. Why not? So when I'm referring to muted notes, there's a lot of ways actually to create muted notes, or maybe the usual palm mute that you can execute on guitar, and it's, I think in bass you have more options. Okay, this one is an option for me. I'm just resting with the side of my hand, more like in the bridge, and I'm trying to use my thumb and pressing down with my hand to create that muted sound. Okay, and that is one for me. You can also mute notes physically with instruments, with different tools. You can actually place a little bit of a thing that muffles the sound over here, a piece of sponge or maybe other material, and you can play, and that will do kind of like the same as this. Okay, it will just muffle the sound and create a more muted note. Okay, I don't know of you. There's some other options, but I don't actually remember most of them now. Okay, but the main thing is just executing the notes, but leaving out a little bit of the attack and a little bit of the sustain. That is for me when you play muted. That is, even with a pick. Okay. Now, there's also another thing when people refer to muting, and for me it's also important, but it's another type of thing that we as bassists always have to be aware of, and it's muting undesired noises. I don't know if you can call that muting. It's more like creating a clean sound, and you have to create kind of like the same motion as if you were doing ghost notes. Okay, when you're trying to mute with your left hand strings that you don't want them to sound, because you want to create a more clean sound. Let's make a difference. I'm going to try to play a little bit slop here. I don't know. That's a little bit dirty. Yeah, you can hear two notes at the same time, and you don't want that. You're usually involving your left hand to create ghost notes that you're not executing, but you're just securing that string. You're muting that string, and there it comes the difference. You're doing, and so for that note to not sound, for that D to not sound from here to here, I'm placing my hand. And if you were to stop time and just play all of my strings, you will notice that most of them, or maybe all of them, are muted all the time. Okay, that creates clean sound in the most essential way. Okay, being aware that the note that you are playing is the note that should sound and no other. And there is your three types, I think, of muting that it may be a little bit confusing to understand if you don't get the concepts right. I think you have ghost notes as this. You have your muting notes, you know, and muting the sounds, muting with your left hand in the same motion as ghost notes to create a more clean sound. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So maybe we can continue. As I say, I usually, when I'm talking, I see a lot of questions going through, and I have to skip them. So sorry about that. Okay, it's not my fault. So let's continue. Hello from Germany. Actually, I am from Germany. Hello. Yeah, it's a thing with the time zones, because I don't actually can get them all in a well placed manner. Here in my country it's 5:20, okay, p.m. So you can let me know if this hour is comfortable for you. Why not? Okay. Soul Ternox. Some songs are done using pick. Can you do them with fingers if you wanted to? And if so, could you please do schism tool, especially the main riff? Okay, there's no problem about that, but you need to understand the differences, I think, between playing with a pick and playing with fingers, especially when you're using different tones that you want to achieve. Okay, so that is the thing. You can, of course, play this. You can play it with fingers. Okay, if you get the technique about it, it's not that difficult to change. But you can understand, and you actually easily understand that the sound is not the same. the amount of attack that you get with your pick, it's totally different from your fingers. Even if you're doing the work of playing really here at the bridge and using the tip of your fingers and maybe even some nails, it will not be the same. It's a different material with a different material of attack into the string. So even if I'm trying to be as sharp as I can, it can't emulate this. Okay, that type of attack. And there's reasons because you want to choose one or another. It's not because it has never has to be thought as okay, I'm using this because I can't use that one, or vice versa. Okay, I'm not using a pick because I can't use my fingers, or I'm not using fingers because I can't use a pick. You should try to have some knowledge of both of them and understand, okay, this tone, it really needs the use of a pick if I want to be standing out more, even in the mix probably, or I want more attack, I want to sound more like a guitar probably. All of those things and more other concepts involve tone, and that is the main goal of it. Okay, it's not, it doesn't have to be about your technique. You should be able to play both. Okay, but yes, you can, of course you can. And sometimes it's a challenge. It's an interesting challenge trying to play things that are played with a pick and play them with fingers, because with a pick you can achieve easily more speed. You can just alternate and do even that type of speed that is practically impossible to achieve just with fingers for a long time, you know. So all of those things, it might be challenging, it might be interesting to do, but in the end, I would say the important thing here is the sound. And some sound you won't get with picks, some sound you won't get with fingers. Okay, so please understand that from now until the end of times. Okay. I play guitar and bass and potato and YouTube. That's a great comment. I love your bass lessons. I'm practicing every day. That's good, man. Igor Beverka. We were discussing about playing every day and habits of practice. It's important for you to practice every day whatever thing that you want to, really. Even if it is 15 minutes. That will help your memory and your muscle memory, and for people that don't actually understand this, resting, it's an important part of practicing. Okay, the rest, it's practice at the same time. If you need to stop because you're just stuck in something, just stop and let your brain keep the practice, and actually thinking about what you're planning to do physically. It's the same thing as practicing. It's scientifically actually proved that thing. Okay. Okay. If someone is commenting too much spammy things, I'm beginning to block people. Okay. I don't really care if you're doing things that are not helping everybody and you're just trying to claim your attention. You're not welcome here. Okay. Just for you know, I know there's many people that want to learn here, so I'm trying to help you. Mash says, I can't seem to play ghost notes while slapping, or if I can, it's sloppy. Any suggestions for a technique like the Michael Jackson get on the floor? Okay, let's do this. Let's go into that tune. Okay, I'm going to remember also that if you have some songs that you want to just for me to cover some specific parts, probably that maybe needs more attention, that need a little bit more understanding, you can let me know, okay? You can comment, okay, can you go over that part from that song, okay? So I'm going to search for the tablature, and maybe we can use this as an example of using slapping ghost notes, okay? So here we have it. I think you can watch now the tablature. Okay, there we have it. That's the main riff from the intro, at least. I actually don't remember this song very well. So let's see. There it is. There it is. Again, sorry. So I can memorize. Okay, there we have it. So that little part that you have over there, it's a really good example for analyzing a little bit of slapping and ghost notes. So we're going through all of this. First of all, we have it's important for you to understand that you need to have good technique in slapping and popping before doing good ghost notes. So let's go over that really quick. Try always to use your wrist. Okay, that's the most important tip, I think. Managing to use your wrist as a good motion. Okay, a motion that it's slapping and retreating at the same time. I don't know, not at the same time, but you're slapping and then trying to create kind of like a whip motion. Okay, that is important, and you can that is the technique that I want, that I like. But there's people that also slap and just rest the hand over here, rest the thumb in the next string, and that is valid, and I use it also. But yeah, we're going to go through that, but really slow. Okay, here it is. So here's the complicated part, I think. So you're having a hammer-on from C to D over here. After you're doing that, you go and you play your first ghost note slap, and it's just the same thing as playing ghost notes with notes, and the same motion in your left hand. You just have to have all your fingers really close to the strings over here. So when you need to do that, it should be really close. So you're doing your C to D, and then just try to rest the most amount of fingers that you can into your fretboard, but just resting in the strings. It's not pressing down, yeah? So that's the sound that you need. Okay, if you do it with one finger, it will sound like this. With two, you still have some harmonics. But if you're doing more than three, it's always really clean. So that works, at least for me. You have this. And then you play with the popping sound, and it's the same thing with the left hand. Okay, you just focus your attention into the G string now, and you're not using the tip of your fingers here, you're just using the little joints and the other parts of your finger to cover this string, okay, the first string. And I'm using 4 fingers now. I'm using my whole hand right here, okay. I'm not losing my position. I'm not doing first finger and then other position. I'm just going, and my fingers don't change that much, okay. My index is actually doing a little bit of a capo motion over here. I'm just covering from the beginning, and just covering this note, and at the same time I'm muting this string and I'm muting this string all the time, okay. I'm placing my fingers, I'm always touching all the strings, and I think that is not a bad tip for all of you. Always try to maintain contact with all of your strings. If you have 4, probably with more it's difficult, but try to maintain contact and control all of what's happening with all of your strings, okay. So you have a hammer on, slap, and then popping, okay, same motion with your wrist. But here's the thing that you need to practice. It's slapping, popping. Okay, an even sound, and really mute it, okay. I think someone donated, so I'm going to read that in a while, okay. Thanks for that. So you have hammer on, slap, pop. Okay, there it is, hammer on, and then you go slap in the D string now, okay. So be careful about skipping strings when you're doing this, and try to always control your sound, because if you don't, it might sound like this, and you hear other sounds that you don't want. All of those sounds that I'm trying to emulate of a bad, not clean sound, it might be a problem that you have, okay. So be aware that you need to maintain control of all the strings. So again, really slow. Even slower. So we begin with a hammer on, slap, pop. There you have a little bit of an staccato over there. That is important. Remember always that point, the little dot on top of the note. In my notations, it always indicates playing a shorter note. Okay, so if this is an 8th note, it is really a 16th note followed by a rest of the same figure. Okay, so it will usually be, but now it is. So you have a. Then we finish with just slapping and a little bit of a hammer on over there. Okay. And then we go with the other measure. And you will notice the main ghost note part, it's just this. If you manage to control that, you have this song probably in the most of the main riff, okay? So it's... Okay, and that's it with this song. Okay, I hope I can actually get you involved in more questions that you can make. So let's go with the thing over here. Let me check the. Okay, thanks Daniel Murphy with a $1 actually from Super Chat. Thanks. Okay, let's go with more technique. Oh, you have a question over here. Muting technique for fingerstyle is the same as ghost notes over there. Yeah, it's kind of like the same as I said. It's kind of like the same. You have the same left hand motion, of course. Okay, maybe you have to secure a little bit more. Okay, let me understand. Yeah, well, if you have more doubts about muting and the 3 types of muting, I guess you can go back in the video because we were talking about that just now. But yeah, I was referring to when you playing ghost note slaps or ghost note fingers. It's kind of like the same, but I usually have more care when I'm playing a slap ghost notes because you have more attack and there's more possibilities for you to have bad sound. So I'm usually trying to apply even more fingers involved in this. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. We have a over here. Yeah. Marvento. Hey, Cover Solutions. I've been struggling with the fast pull-offs in the Orion bass solo. Can you please demonstrate you do this? Okay, the fast pull-offs in the Orion bass solo. Okay, can you give me probably if you can give me numbers of measures, it will be even easier to follow. Okay, numbers of bars. But I'm going to go. I think I have the part that you're referring to. Okay, let's go. Orion. Okay, here we have the tablature. Bass solo, bass solo. No, it's not that. It's not this one. It's this one. Okay. This is obviously a very requested one. For all the parts that it has. But here's the solo. I think that's the part you're referring to, okay? Because I don't remember more of that. Yeah, you don't have more. You don't have more pull-offs after that. Yeah. Okay. So this part will always be a little bit difficult to get. So so let's go through it a little bit. So you have a notes over here. There you have it. It's just D, no, C, B, and D. C, B, and D. So the pull-off, always remember, it's not just pulling on top. You know, you're not just pulling in an up motion. You're not just doing this, because that will lose a lot of the sound, a lot of the attack of the original first note. So you want to really pull off to the side. Always try to pull off to the side. So in that way you kind of like drag a little bit of the note and make more attack of the second one. That's the first thing I have to say. Okay, so you have a 17, 16, and then you go with that note. Okay, for me, fingers, the most apt thing was just doing middle index and then with my little finger. Okay, if you're trying to do it with your ring finger, maybe it's no big deal because you have a less tension over here. In the frets are a little bit more close together. Okay, but I would recommend to use always a little finger. Okay, over here. So you need to go really slow if you're not that aware of the rhythm and the technique that you need. You will need to do it this really slowly. Okay, so you have a So the thing that I'm doing is I'm never actually lifting this finger up. I'm just doing the hammer, the pull off, and when I go with this note, I slightly mute the G string with actually this finger, with the little finger, the same finger that is fretting in the D string. It's just muting in the G string over there. So I'm not worrying about making this, because I'm always muting with the little finger. So you have a pull off, pluck, and then you again pluck to go into repeat. So the full 4 notes, it's pull off, pluck, pluck. So let's just watch now the combination of fingers in the right hand. I'm going with a little bit of raking over here. So I'm using my middle finger for the pull off, and that same middle finger I'm using for the note in the D string. So all of that is just one motion of my my middle finger. It can be your index. Okay, all of this can be reversed, but I'm most of the time using my middle finger. So you have this. Just one motion. And after finishing that, now I'm using my index to play 16 again, and then just repeat with my middle. Okay? Oh, that's the note. So you have a let's go into context a little bit. We have a that is the main part. Okay, there it is. So that little part, it should be practiced really slow, because if you're not getting the rhythmic part slowly, you won't get it faster. Okay, so you need to get taka 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 tum. Even in that motion, it may be a little bit fast. You can do it. Okay, so you will always try to maybe rush a little bit of the pull-off, because making a pull-off in time is a little bit more difficult. So try to, first of all, relax. Try to not guide yourself with your thumb. Your thumb will never be here. It's almost loose in this part of the fretboard. Okay, it's almost loose behind. I'm just resting it a little bit behind the neck over here, but it's not really pushing, and you have this. And after a while you have that, you can actually begin to raise your speed, okay? So if you're reaching your limit, just go back and redo it until you have it really solid with low speed, okay? That is a thing that is really important. Okay, this is played with a little bit of I think a lot of overdrive, and it sounds mostly like a guitar solo. It is close to a guitar solo than to a bass solo or whatever type of other solo. So your distortion, it may help a little bit to cover some of the things. Maybe you don't have to do your pull-off that excessively noisy. If you just lift with the amount of overdrive that this part needs, you just have to lift a little bit, okay? You don't have to even apply that much pressure into your playing. You just need to relax and let the effect talk a little bit more, okay? Sorry. Okay, well, that's it with that part. Again, hope I can help a little bit. I'm going to read some feedback now. Let's go back to the stream. Okay. Daniel Murphy, again, could an example of how to practice playing with 3 or 4 figures on the right hand. Example being the Panic Attack riff by Dream Theater. I can play with 2, but timing is off with 3 or 4. I don't know if you meant fingers or figures. It sounds to me like you tried to say fingers, probably. I don't know. Yeah, because figures, I wouldn't know really what you meant to if you said figures. But yeah, for me it's a struggle to try to just play with 3 fingers comfortably. It's not a thing that I'm doing, and when I try to play a little bit of that, I think it's something like that if you play it in the same key, because it's not in the same tuning. Or maybe over here. But I'm using 2 fingers, and I'm quite sure that it's probably the same choice for the original bassist for Myung. I don't know if it's needed to play that part with 3 fingers, but you can actually do it. But it looks more difficult for me, because when you're skipping strings, you need to have the advantage of doing the raking. Okay, the raking, it's really important to allow you to play faster things, and for me that is, remember, always raking is just skipping strings with 1 finger over here. I'm just playing 2 notes from different strings with 1 finger. So I'm doing that when I'm playing that. It's kind of like the same deal with the solo from Orion, okay? I'm raking and then playing with my other finger to complete the 3 cycle. Something like that. But I would have to really figure out how is he doing it. But I'm not really accustomed to play with 3 fingers, at least that part. Okay, if you have a static note like the following parts, it's not that difficult to apply 3 fingers if you have patience, because you need to do a lot of things, especially with the accenting part. Okay, at the beginning, when you're trying to play with 3 fingers, you will understand that all that you play will sound like triplets, or like there is a little bit of an accent in the first one, and it shouldn't be if you're playing for example 16 notes or 8 notes in a 4/4 time. Okay, if you want to do this 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, you need to get a little bit more accenting to the first beat, so it gives you more tying up with the rhythm. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. So if you're not worried about that, it will sound like this. So it's 1 2 3 4 1 2 1 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2. It's always skipped, and that won't work for you. Okay, maybe if you're playing fast, it won't matter. Okay, I'm not that good about that topic, really. I'm not using 3 fingers all the time. So okay, Felipe Guzman has a little bit of a tip over there. It says that the solo from Orion was written as a guitar solo originally. Okay, that's why it sounds like that. Yeah. You can notice when Cliff is playing many things, you will understand that the main goal there was trying to emulate guitar parts that are used as filling in other songs, or in this song it's just like a solo. But there's many guitaristic achievements in Cliff's playing. Okay, it's not bad. I've seen people kind of like criticize his playing because he's more like playing like a guitar, I guess. But yeah, it's just influences. I don't know. It's still bass, and there's more complexities in trying to pull a good guitar emulated solo in a bass than in an original guitar. Okay, it's a little bit more difficult, I would say. Strix or 5-3X. How would someone go about playing something like Tommy the Cat? Well, I probably said something like that when I first heard the song. But it's after a while, if you practice a lot and you practice slowly and consciously, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, of course it's very difficult, and it will take it still takes me some amount of energy and frustration to try to do this well. I think I never actually pulled it off that well. Okay. Yeah. It's still too much things that I need to practice, actually, and of course I'm not playing this every day, but if you practice enough, you will understand that it's just many things that you need to get before playing this. You can't just say, okay, I just bought my bass today and now I'm going to play. Yeah, that won't happen, okay? You will get frustrated and you will probably, toss your bass to the side. That is not a pedagogical way to go into bass. You need to first go through some little steps, okay? First, understanding what is really slapping and strumming, okay? And even if you have it at that speed, it's many things that you need to understand to actually get to the stamina to play this for 4 minutes. I don't know if that is the original time of the song, but it was really difficult, and I'm not proud. Be aware that I'm not proud of the upload that I have. It wasn't good. Okay, maybe if I played now, it would sound a little bit better, but it wouldn't actually still be the same. I think there's a lot of technique involved there. Okay, and my transcription, I think it was good. I think I heard really in attention of what he did, and there's many other details that people don't actually play. Okay, especially with ghost notes and things that it's hardly audible. Some little details that he's doing in that riff. Okay. But it is to this day difficult, and I have to practice it more if I ever want to re-upload it. Okay. Danny Ram 23. I love your bass covers. Thanks. Hands up, don't shoot says transitioning from guitar to bass. I find very tricky. It is. It has some complexities, but think of it as not transitioning. Probably, maybe think of it as just picking other instrument, because there's many things that you can take from guitar and make them into your bass playing, of course. And I went from that transition. I played guitar for a lot of time, then I pick up the bass, and there's some things that you need to forget and some things that you need to achieve to understand more of the instrument. Okay, first of all, the size will affect you, but you need to be a little less subtle with bass in a way. You need to be more in contact with your instrument all the time. Okay, it's not just one finger doing little things in subtle manners. Because strings are too tight together, and you can't do something like playing and being in touching all the strings and doing all of that. Okay, that may be a little bit difficult. But yeah, be aware of that and try to practice it as if it is a new instrument. Okay. A lot of examples I look at teach to play with 3, but 2 has always been good for me, and I can about fingers. It's okay. It just depends. I think if you're in a band that really wants you to play, constant 16 notes all the time, maybe you will end up evolving into playing with 3 fingers, or maybe if you play a lot of gallops, I don't know. But you see, the master of playing gallops, I think it's still in a way Steve Harris, and he uses 2 fingers. So it's I don't know. I tend to play the bass like a guitar. Yeah, that's the thing. David Scodern, any tips for learning to fret blind without looking at the fretboard. Oh, yeah, we can talk a little bit about that, but why not? Let's write something. Okay, playing blind. Sounds a little bit funny. But yeah, I remember having a bad time trying to actually play whatever instrument and not being always locked in my vision, trying to say, okay, this is whatever note, and I have to play looking at what I'm doing and whatever. But after a while, you will get more and more accustomed to the size, to the way of your instrument behaves and your hands behave. Okay, there's something important that is called muscle memory, and that you will notice after you play even for a while. You will notice that your hands kind of like go into positions that you're not really figuring out all the time. You're not really thinking about, okay, I'm going to do this type of finger position now. No, it's just something that you need to work with a lot of constant practice. Okay, your body itself, it's really smart, so you don't have to actually think about all of the things all the time. So first, don't be afraid of just looking at the instrument if you need to, and after a while you will get, okay, I don't know, now I'm not trying not to watch, okay. And I'm most of the time practicing the not watching thing, because I have to look at what I'm reading and then playing. And for that, it's important to always be in contact with your instrument. Okay, always touching it, always understanding where you have your limits, and most of the time trying to always glance at your instrument and then going back to what you're reading or what you're looking at. Okay, so if I ever have a doubt of whatever, I just look a little bit and then I'm set. Okay, if you're reading and playing, that's the way you need to actually execute. You need to read and then look a little bit and then go back to reading and switching your sight all the time. But always be aware of it may take some time, I guess, but it will come naturally. It's not something that you need to think about that much. Tips about it's just trying to, as I said, have locks on different points, okay, especially on the points that are indicated in your instrument. The 3, 5, 7, 9 and 12 points are there for a reason, and after you get that positioned well, you will just lock into the size of your fingers that you need, the position of your hand that you need. Okay, just think about double bass players. They don't even have the aid of thinking about frets, because they don't have frets. So it's just all about looking at what position gives you what type of sound, what type of tuned note. And after a while you don't have to look at it, because it's just trusting your sound in your ear. Okay, that is an important tip probably. Okay, trying to trust more into your ear, and if you know the intervals and how they behave, you just have to think about it and just hear with more attention, I think. Okay, so it's basically a matter of time and experience. Yeah, I would say it's, unfortunately, there's many things that are time experience, and most of the time it's just patience. Okay, and being very rigorous with your practice. Okay, um, I think that the better practice I ever had was just sitting down and trying to decompose whatever I'm trying to play. Okay, uh, play it in a really slow and trying to understand. And when I'm playing slow, the thing about playing slow really is not just having more time to understand the thing that you're playing. It is really about playing that thing slow, but also being aware of more things that are happening. Okay, notes that I have to mute, positions that I have to maintain, fingers that I have to not keep out of track, fingers that I have to not lift too much. In my right hand, I have to maintain good position, trying to give my thumb a good support to all my other fingers, maintaining a relaxed position, all of that. You need some time to figure out when you're beginning. So practicing really slow will help you in that. Okay, it's not just playing slow and not worrying about what's happening around you. Okay, you will always have to be aware of what's happening around you with your physique on the instrument. Baron Von Taco Cat says, I painted rainbow notes along my bass to help me understand the note better. Yeah, that's not a bad example. Okay, you need to do what you want to do, what you need to do, in a way. Okay, the thing is trying not to be dependent on that little things. Okay, it's like beginning with safety wheels or something like that. Okay, you need to get rid of them in some time. Okay, so I never went to that type of education because it might be difficult to just get rid of it because you get so accustomed to it. But in a you won't have it in all instruments. So many people I remember trying to play keyboard, they just wrote the name of the notes and then you have it, yeah. But you get accustomed to the little papers that you tie that you just put into each key, and when you get them out, you're just from the beginning not understanding really. You need the numbers, but you can associate, and that is great. Okay, so you need to transition between that help and real playing. Okay, I would say it's the same as in tablature. If you really want to, it's not an obligation, but if you want to go into playing, score sheet music, you have some things that you also have to left out from tablature. But that is another deal. I think you can actually not read anything and be a good bassist. About notation, I think is highly overrated notation. In execution, of course, not in practice and not in transcription and not in composition as I'm doing it. Yeah, it's a stand-up bass. When I'm saying double bass, it's stand-up or I think there's another straight bass. I don't remember. Well, I call it contrabass. We call it contrabass in most of the Latin American people. On Wendelig Vilmark, I love your covers, dude. Perfect. Just wanted to say this. Thanks so much. Greetings from Argentina. Un saludo. really benefited from playing your covers at half speed than 75 speed. Yeah, that's a good thing to do actually. If you want to play some covers of mine, I don't know. I think a little bit of the quality got lost when I'm watching them, 50 speed or something like that. But it will help you to read the tablature in a more chill way. But I would also recommend you to download the tab probably and go play along. That's the software I use, and you can actually go into half speed, and you don't get a bad sound. Actually, the sound just morphs in a way that it's audible, and it's not a pain to listen, because I noticed that when you kind of like go back in the speed in YouTube videos, the audio just get too much, too bad for me. But yeah, it's always a good idea to slow down. Okay, always. David again says, your cover of No Doubt, Don't Speak. There are a couple of places you slide up to 12th to 13th fret and back. And do you plug before sliding up, or when you reach 12th fret? I actually know that I don't have to watch the tablature. I remember, I think it's something like that, or not? Doing that type of that usual type of slide that gives many doubts for people, because they don't understand that it's a more free way of doing it. When I'm notating it as a little bit of a slash going behind the note, it's just that. It's just going from nowhere into somewhere and back into nowhere. I'm just going from zero really to the note I want, and it's there's many things that you need to understand to do that type of sliding. I'm going to talk a little bit about this sliding out. Okay, because I think it has some interesting things. Slide out and in, especially because it's different from sliding from one note to another, or something like this. Or whatever, it's just, and it's very used, and some things that you need to understand so you actually don't get damaged. First of all, I'm not applying full pressure when I'm doing this. I'm not doing, because I will get really burned if I do it with full pressure. I'm just doing with I think half of the pressure I'm always applying. I'm actually losing a little bit of the grip of my thumb. Okay, it's not a fixed behind with the thumb. I'm just leaving it a little bit behind, so it doesn't bother me in the sliding motion. And then I'm going from nowhere, but when I'm saying nowhere, it's obviously a fret, whatever fret, but it's so fast that it doesn't really matter. Okay, for some people it actually matters, and you have to go from, I don't know, from the octave from F, from the other F, and if it is too noticeable, you will have to do it. But most of the time it just involves whatever fret and going really slightly into it. And when you go into the note that you want to begin to go back, you need to have a little bit more pressure at the end, so that note, it's heard a little bit more than the sliding part. Okay, and the same deal for going back. Okay, you just apply pressure when at the goal. From the goal, you're not applying that much pressure, and you're it's kind of like going on top and then going back in size of, in matters of pressure. Okay, so when you lose all of your pressure, you will end up with no sound, and that can happen in whatever part of the fret. Okay, the pressure will give you kind of like a fade out or fade in. Yeah, so it will end up really slowly. It's something like this. Okay, so it's just go down with less pressure that I'm applying. So all of this should be really slight. Okay, if you do it otherwise, it will actually damage you. Okay, and same for other types. Okay, you have a slide in, slide out, from the lower register, but you can actually slide in to the note from higher register and going out into a higher register. And the same thing is applied. Okay, and that's it about sliding out and in. Inatsus asks, are you Chileno? I am. Remember, I'm doing Spanish streams tomorrow, okay? Mañana stream en español. Bending the strings, chorus of Big Empty. Yeah, we can go over that. I think I don't have more questions right below. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit around that part. Give me a little bit of give me a minute to check some things. Okay. So I'm going to search for Big Empty from Stone Temple Pilots. Stone Temple Pilots. Big Empty. I have to say, I most of the time I forget about the songs. It's actually great to replay them, so I can remember a lot of them. So here's Big Empty. Here's the well, here's the verse. Let's go for the chorus. Here it goes. There it is. That's kind of like the first and most important part that will always be repeated. So you have first you have a G major, then you go to probably A minor, probably C major over here, G major again for the second part over here. Oh, it's A major actually. G, A, okay, so this is a really great line, of course, from Mr. DeLeo, and it explains a lot of what it means covering a lot of harmony in your playing and going through your line as if it is a melody. So first you have a there, G sliding into B. That is actually a major arpeggio over here. So that's how I know it's a G major. For that, it's important to maintain a lock position, because this it's really important in his playing and in most bassist playing. It's maintaining the root, the fifth, and the octave in this position. Okay. So that part, I don't think it's that difficult to get if you go into it slowly. Okay, try to apply a lot of raking again. For example, on this part, you're skipping strings over there and you're skipping strings over there, and those parts will help you a lot if you're doing the raking thing. So one motion, one middle finger over there. And for this, it's really important to also maintain a good muting of notes undesired to be played at that time, because if you do just this, it will sound like this. You need to, when you go from this note to this note, you lift the note that went behind, the finger that went behind, you've lifted, so it begins from so it changes from position of fretting into position of muting. So now it's muted. Same for the other notes. Okay, and same for the whole thing. So you go, and you go into C. Notice how I'm using always okay, my little finger. Try to use that also. Okay, try not to leave your little finger behind for that part, especially for this. It's little finger, ring, and index. It's usually the middle finger that it has less use in these positions. Okay. And for that switching over there, you go index with your ring, or maybe with your little finger, and with your index you change your position again over here. Okay, there's many ways of doing it, but if you go into the future of the line, this is the wisest way of doing it, because you are going to do this again in the C. So you need to switch positions fast and beginning with your index, so you go over this part easily. Okay, so it's never, because you will have to change your position too much. It's just okay. So G, A, C, and again G. But this part is really interesting, okay? And this is really used again from his playing. You have the root, third, fifth, and the octave. Okay, you have the full triad and the octave. You could do it like this or like this. Okay, a B it's over here or here, but I'm doing it like this. And probably he's doing it like this, because I usually go over his type of playing. So you go always alternating with your right hand. Index, middle, index, middle. And you repeat, you mimic the same positions, the same structure on A. G, A. And you go. And here is important to rake, because you need to do middle index, and that index goes back into the 7 from the A string. So really slowly, rake, middle index, and you can rake again over here. Okay, you can rake every time you see strings being skipped. Okay, most of the time. And back to the finishing part over here. That is just C, B, B, C, D. That's a usual thing. And back to G. That is the full thing, and I think it's a good example of covering good harmony. So if you analyze a little bit of the chords that you can actually form with that line, it's interesting. So if you watch a line and if you follow the notes, and that notes, they are all already telling you of the harmony, even if you're not knowing about what the guitarist is doing or what the harmonic instrument is doing. That is most of the time a good line, because it's figuring out how to create harmony with just here with just the chord tones of the same chord that you apply over here in the line. Okay, so again, there you have the triad, or the major triad covered in G major. And then again, for example, this could be A major or A minor if I don't know, because it's just octave and fifth. Okay, so it's not a condition. It's not that you have to do it all the time, but it will help you to cover more ground and move into different places than just doing this. That would be the line if I'm just using fifth and octave. You understand? That sounds less great, of course, than doing this. Okay, I'm covering more grounds. Vulcos says that fret bass though. Yeah, I'm having a lot of bass because the strings are really new, and I usually accustomed to play with old strings now. And we are going into DI, so it's just the sound of the direct thing. But I like it in some way. I like to have more like this new sound for some songs. And you can manage to create some things with a little bit of a fret bass. I don't think it's a sin, especially if you want to play more hard things, you know? Maybe it's a little bit uncontrolled in this bass, okay? I think this bass suits more for mellower strings. Okay, how are we doing? Do we have some more questions over here? Felipe Guzman, about your question, he talks when you're moving around the fretboard and say whatever notes. Are you looking at the fretboard, or do you identify the notes by ear? Okay, I don't have perfect pitch. I don't know really the notes by just hearing them. But what I do understand is intervals. Okay, intervals will give me that type of knowledge. Okay, maybe I don't know. Okay, maybe just by heart, and just because I know my bass, I know that now I'm playing a G, okay? But without knowing even what I'm going to do, and I play this note, I know the relationship between those two notes, and I know this is a major third. So from that knowledge, now I know that this is a B, okay? I'm not thinking, okay, A sharp, B, this is a B. No, I'm just thinking about the interval that's going through from the center that it is G. Okay, so that is a good example for me to understand, okay, I'm looking into the tonic of the harmony. So now I have if you have C major, for example, there's your C, and from there you're just going to throw little intervals from C. Okay, the major third, if you want to create a major chord, maybe the fifth, maybe the octave, but it's always related to the root note, in this case C. Okay, that is a good example to analyze more of what is going on with a line. Okay, now he's playing the octave, now he's playing the ninth, and it's always in respect to the main note, okay, to the tonic, the note that gives the name of the chord. I like to have a little bass when I'm going in lower tuning, says Vulcus. Yeah. It's great for some. It's great to be exaggerated in some styles and genres. I think this note, it would be great to play some Tool, probably, you know, with a or maybe some heavy things, some things that need more of that push, you know. But I would probably have a bad time if I want to play more vintage things with these strings that are so new. So I would probably have to mess around with the EQ and some things that now I can't actually manage, because when we're going live, I have to play just with my direct sound, okay? And the fret bass can be actually fixed if you lift your strings a little bit more. These strings are now with lower action, I think. For these new strings, maybe if you raise the action a little bit, that can help, you know, as a little tip. Have you ever heard Russian rock bands? I don't think I have, actually. Maybe you can name me some good Russian rock band. I would love to expand myself in that area. Yeah, I don't think I have much knowledge of that. I think we all love to hear some bands from Russia. You can give us a little list. Can you play the intro of Feel Good Inc. from Gorillaz? I think I remember that one. Yeah. Yeah, it's something like that. Just something like that. Of course, when you watch when you listen to that song, you will understand that it's a bass that is tuned half a half step down, okay? And I figured out that for the song because when you hear the lower note, it's an E flat, and you can't reach that with your original tuning. Okay, so I've seen many people actually commenting, it's not like that, it's like this. Something like that. And of course they are playing it in the 6th fret because they hear the E flat and they get it, okay, it's over here, it's not in the E. And that's great, but the register is not the same, okay? It's not played over here. It's actually played in the lower register. But if you don't want to go over the deal of tuning down, it's a good thing that you can do. But I think you need to get a little bit of accustomed to change your tunings, and doing it fast. It's a good exercise to do. Okay, to having it actually helps a lot in your hearing process when you're having a lot of tunings to change, and you have to deal with different tunings, as I have to actually figure out that the A is not 440, it's maybe 432, 435, 450. When you have to figure that out, it's even more difficult because you have to play with notes that are maybe quarter tones behind or up, and their sound a little bit off or a little bit out of tune. That is difficult, but you can get some practice of while doing that. David Scodern asks, when do you use a pick instead of your fingers? I just do whatever you do, but it would be good to know what helps you choose. Well, we were actually talking about this in a while, okay? What the section was just called a pick versus fingers. So when you actually rewatch probably this stream, if you want to, of course, you can see the conversation that we have, but it's mostly about the tone that you can get, okay, about the attack, about the sound more than the ability of it. Okay, never think it's just because I can't do it. It should be because I chose to do it because of the sound that it gives me. Okay, you should have all the abilities, all the tools that you can have, and then you decide what's better for the song or the tone of the bass or whatever. But it shouldn't be limited to your abilities, to your own abilities. So if you're not that great at playing with a pick, just begin practicing, and vice versa. If you're just good at playing with pick, just begin using your fingers, because that will give you more ground, probably will give you more gigs, and probably will give you more work. I don't know how the work scene is out there, but I know it's pretty rough. But maybe if you want to play in some gigs and want to become a professional, player, you will have to play both of them. And more knowledge you have, it's better for your own work and your own enlightenment. I don't know. What kind of bass are you using? It's a Washburn Taurus T24. Okay, it's in the description of every video I actually upload, and I still get some comments of people not knowing that, but I understand it in some way. I don't think the description of the videos it's that well highlighted in a video. But yeah, it's a Washburn Taurus T24. Thanks Jay for saying it. Hello from Britain. Wondering if you had any tips on the techniques for slapping, picking, and such. Okay, it's. I think it's a little bit of a broad question. It's slapping or picking or stuff. I don't know. Any tips on whatever? I'm usually not answering in detail that questions because they are too general. Okay, maybe you need to not generalize that much. But for me, the essential tip again, it's not in playing. It's in the positions that you have while playing. Okay, I think the main tip for beginners, if someone asks me about that, is building a good route of what you're going to do next, building a good positions, good technique. Okay, so 3 important rules again: not lifting your hands, your fingers too much when you're playing. Never do this. Always do this. Okay, fingers are just to push up or down. Never try to use your thumb over here all the time. Maybe there's some exceptions, but most of the time your thumb needs to be behind the fret and pointing a little bit up. Okay, never pointing too much to the parallel of the, perpendicular to the neck. Okay, it always a little bit up, pointing up. That will fix the popular thing of the bent wrist. Okay, most of the time you will see bassists doing it like this, and it's not that great. Okay, it will give you some problems, especially if you're trying to play some fast things, and it will give you limitations. Okay, it's a little bit harder to solve if you're playing over here, especially if you want to go something like this. It's really impossible not to bend your wrist if you want to cover more ground, if you want to stretch a little bit more. Okay, like I like to do. I actually like to stretch a little bit to create some different intervals. I don't think I could do something like this without bending a little bit on my wrist, but it's just in some exceptions. Again, the main position for you should be always a straight wrist. Never lift your fingers too much, and thumb pointing a little bit up behind the fretboard. Okay, that's the main thing. Your arm never goes like this. It's always close to your body, and it goes even closer when you're going down. Okay, that is for the left hand. And for your right hand, I always like to make use of the floating thumb going over here, over here, over here, over here when I'm playing. Okay, I'm never just resting my thumb over here and playing all the strings. I'm always moving with my thumb. I'm always alternating when I want to, and I'm always raking when I have the opportunity, And I'm never doing too much of a bent wrist again, even in the right hand. I'm not doing something like many bassists I've seen doing, that they just stick their arm too much to the side and just bend too much of this. It's just not that exaggerated. It's just something like this. Okay, you can free your fingers or you can leave them like this. I like to just free them a little bit. And what else? I don't know. There's many things that you need to understand that you will solve while answering yourself these questions. Am I comfortable doing whatever I'm doing? Am I suffering from it? Am I having too much of stretched fingers? I'm having pain. That's not the solution. Okay, that will give you the answer really. Mr. Baron von Taco Katz says Hendrix used his thumb. yeah, there's no problem, and I think it's a little bit easier to say when you're a guitarist. Okay, you're managing really a neck that is actually a little bit more easy to manage than it is the bass neck. Okay, and I've seen bassists always having their finger over here. Okay, it's just the main recommendation will always be this, and will give you more endurance over time playing. Okay, and it will open more opportunities for you. But if you can break all of those rules if you are aware of them. Okay, that is the main thing of every rule, even not in music, but to break the rules you need to know them. Okay, otherwise you're just talking about your ignorance, and that will never be great. I'm pretty sure he knew when to do it, or when to, and actually in guitar you have to play with your thumb over here if you want to secure your bends. Okay, if you want to secure a good bending, you need to go with your thumb over here. Even in bass, I would never think about bending without my thumb over here. Okay, that would be a really weak bend if I'm trying to do it in this position. So there's exceptions. There's always exceptions. Okay. Will you ever make an updated Tommy the Cat video? I was just talking about that a while ago. I hope I can. Now I think it's not in my priorities because I have many songs to deliver really soon. I hope I can when I have less people to attend to. Okay, less rewards from Patreon. Thanks to all the patrons as usual. Thanks so much. If you want to consider it, please do it. You are actually literally feeding me and giving me shelter to do all of this. Okay, so I really appreciate it. How can I improve my slap? I actually talk about that a little bit, and I think I talk about that all the time. Okay, the most important way to improve your slap, again, technique, practice of position, using your wrist. Okay, you're never doing it like this. It's always just your wrist acting. Okay, think about when you think about slapping, try to think about more like doing martial arts. For me, it's more like that. It's more like hitting, but with a purpose. Hitting with precision, and not hitting like a monkey. Okay, it's not. It's just really precise, and it needs to have some motion that goes in and goes out for slapping and popping. Okay, and practice a lot of octaves and try to practice it just slowly and consciously. Okay. I remember doing that for a while and just understanding what I'm doing and having equal volume and equal sound for all of my hits. It's really difficult. Okay, so always go back to the basics. I think for me it always works, trying to go back into the basics, reliving that process, and seeing things that I'm not even seeing while I'm playing the fast things, you know. Can you play something of early Trevor Boulder? I don't know him. Like Lady Grinning Soul by David Bowie. Oh, he's the bassist from Bowie? I don't know. But yeah, the thing about request, it's difficult. I usually tell the story on these streams of when I just began with this with this channel. I actually had the goal of making every song that people commented on the comments. Can you imagine that? Now it's of course impossible. I receive a lot of them. Okay, so it's always benefiting the patrons, of course, and it's always benefiting the on benefit of of the majority of people asking me for a song. Okay, Take the Power Back was an example actually. Many people enjoyed it, and it was from Patreon, but it also was requested a lot from people here in the comments. Okay, I'm thinking actually about doing a stream in which I will just jam along with songs that you want me to play. I'm thinking about doing that, but I don't know if I can do it that often, or maybe I can do it at all, because that will get a lot of strikes, from copyright. So it would be just no gain for me, and probably will give me some troubles. So I don't know if I can do it, but I would love to just play on request for an hour or something like that. Max Miller, buddy, you've taught me taught me everything I know. I'm now in a band. Do you have any good advice for playing and singing? It's a usual advice that I don't really know how to approach in a really correct manner, because I'm always struggling with that myself. I have to play some backing vocals in most of the songs that we have from like a band, and it's always difficult, and I always have to privilege more of taking more attention of my voice, because that's my weakest part, and a little bit less attention to what I'm doing in bass in that part. Most of the time I'm just leaving an even thing that I can just memorize over here, maybe trying to leave less difficult things to do on bass, so I can deliver better on the voices. And what I'm now trying to do is just creating rhythmic similarities in my line with what I'm singing. So I have an example, I think, of a chorus of a song. It's something like this. And that little thing, that is actually a duplication of what I am doing in my voice. Not exactly, but it goes rhythmically exactly like that, and that helps me to guide myself with the line, and also guide myself rhythmically, because I think that's the most difficult thing, when you have to manage different rhythms at the same time, and singing and doing that. It's not it's not that much of the pitch that you have to manage to do both pitch things, different things with pitch. It's mostly has to do with rhythm. So when I do that, it's a lot easier to do. And it actually benefits the line, because I'm borrowing from the melody and making a richer approach into bass, taking from the melody of the song. So I think that's a good exercise to apply. But after that, it's just on you. It's just trying to memorize and being comfortable with the different rhythms being applied. What base will you get when you get to 1,000 per song on Patreon? Well, first of all, I hope I can get to that goal. It would really mean a lot, and probably I would be able to buy a really good instrument. Maybe I'll go for something from Fender, because it's more like a standard, and I really like the sound of some of them. Probably I would go for I would go for some precision bass, or maybe a fretless. I would love to have that just for my own, but I also have to think about doing better work for this. Probably I would go for something not that expensive, but something that will give me better sounds to apply into more songs, more like an investment, you know. Probably a precision. I'm just thinking about buying something just by Squire, having it with that different sound that can help me into getting more influences, more sounding accuracy from what I want to play, what I want to cover. Right, I have to go. Es muy tarde aquí en Inglaterra. Thank you very much for the covers and the advice. I've learned a lot just this evening. Thanks to you. Okay, thanks to everyone watching this. I think I'm going to go in a while, so if you have some final important questions for me, you can leave them. But it's been a great session, I think. I think more people are coming and more people are giving me more interesting questions that I can answer. Okay, I like that. I will recommend any one of you to try to communicate what you're learning, even if it is talking about it, or even if it is teaching to someone what you're learning. That gives you more security into your own knowledge. Okay, teaching gives you more knowledge. It's not the contrary. And I gotta say, I'm not the best at anything that I'm doing really. I hope to. I'm actually going to start receiving some lessons from a guy that I know it's really a great bassist and has a lot of knowledge that I want to get into, especially in the world of jazz and the complexities that world has. And I want to be better, just to be more communicative to you, to things that you want to know, that I think I can actually answer better if I know some things. So thanks for that also. Thanks for giving me questions that I actually have some trouble to answer, because that will give me more knowledge also. Okay. Yeah, many people say that I need to buy a 5-string, and I would love to probably, but I don't know if the rate of songs that I have to do in 5-string are enough for me to just buy in one. Okay, maybe I will have to create a lot of covers that involve 5-string, but I don't know. Have you ever seen someone use two kinds of strings on an instrument? I currently have flat wound G string and everything else is round wound. Well, that's interesting, but I know a lot of guys that use hybrid strings, but not in difference of type. It's mostly in difference of thickness. Especially guitarists, they like to use even thicker strings for the lower strings, so they can do the heavy riffs and whatever, and a little bit of a thinner gauge for solos and doing it easier. But differences in type of strings I never seen. It may work. I don't know. It may be interesting. You need to just break some rules sometimes. Also, you can't just go for what people are doing in a standard. Okay. Hey, just learned Psycho. Thanks for the tabs. Thanks to you for watching. Scotius. I don't know. You can do the type of light that you were saying on Twitch. Yeah, I want to go back to that. Maybe playing on demand on Twitch. But I don't think that many people were seeing me when I was doing that once. So please, if you want, you can follow on Twitch, and you will get notifications when I'm streaming over there. Even I want to just play around, probably. Even I want to just play video games. I don't know. I'm just playing some of them, and maybe you will be interested in that. Just sharing a conversation. I don't know. Okay, I think these are the last minutes of it. So I'm going to begin to say goodbye to you and say again, thanks for being here. It's important for me just because of what I said at the beginning. And these are actually the only lessons that I can get some kind of profit on YouTube, of course. On Patreon, I have the opportunity to have a lot of people that support me, and I'm thankful for that. And for the people that actually donated, thanks so much. I hope more of them come, and with a lot of questions that we can answer together. Okay. The most important thing is not donating. Okay. The most important is just watching this, giving it some views, something that can help me a little bit. Okay. So thanks Marvento, Marcelo Alves, Junkie Love, Scotisue. I think I can't still pronounce your name. Mr. Huaca, Max Miller, Marcelo Alves again, Baron von Taco Cat, Didier Lelion. Thanks for all of your questions again. Okay. So I will see you next Friday with the English speaking stream. If you want to, you can just tune in. Of course, if you're from Latin America, tomorrow I will do it this same version in Spanish, of course, with different questions and whatever. So thanks, and I will see you soon. Okay, take care and goodbye.